In a town where restaurants open and close all the time, one restaurant pulled off a disappearing act that completely fooled me. Keep watching if you want to learn more. Welcome to Bear Facts, where we explore the Smoky Mountains one bear fact at a time. A few years ago, we visited a new restaurant on the corner of Food City Plaza, right off of Teaster Lane in Pigeon Forge. It was called Fat City Grill. Although, if you looked at the sign over the door, it said the Corner Diner, so to be honest, I'm still a little confused over what their name was. Either way, the first time we went was in December of 2024, a year after they first opened their doors. Curious about the restaurant, we've decided to finally give them a try. I have to admit, I wasn't particularly impressed by the exterior. The restaurant had been open for more than a year, yet it lacked the kind of persistence that grabs your attention. In a city where even ATMs and laundromats have neon signs, this place just blended in. But we weren't there because of the decor. We've learned that the more unassuming a place is, the better the food, so I still had high hopes, especially since reviews were pretty good for this place. Once inside, it was clear that the owners were aiming for some kind of 1950s or 60s diner. The inside looked like somebody had taken I Love Lucy's dress, mixed it in with a little Roswell, and dumped New York City into one diner. To be honest, they created a place that was less like a restaurant and more like a conversation piece. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. The space was certainly memorable and full of personality, but also felt like it was a work in progress, as if the vision hadn't been fully realized yet. One wall featured a space alien flying a spaceship over the desert with cactuses, while another showcased a stylized gorilla climbing on the Empire State Building. I genuinely enjoyed the artwork, but the different themes didn't always feel connected to one another, giving the space a somewhat unfinished appearance, almost making the restaurant feel like it was still searching for its identity. But perhaps my favorite touch, though, was the little magic ball sitting at every table. I love those things. You shake them and then you ask it a question and it gives you the answer, right? Okay. Maybe the designers had consulted the magic 8 balls while decorating the restaurant too? I don't know. Either way, I really love them because they're so fun to play with. Now, not everything was complete chaos. The menu was much more in tune with the retro diner theme. It was filled with all the classic comfort foods like burgers and milkshakes and grilled cheese sandwiches and breakfast served all day long. In other words, plenty of butter, plenty of calories, and exactly the kind of food you'd expect to find in a classic American diner. When we ate here, we started with the ever-so-classic mozzarella sticks served with ranch and marinara sauce, although ranch is definitely a more southern thing. They were hot and crispy, just the way they should be, and my husband went for the chicken strips, which were thickly breaded with juicy white meat inside. And my husband's dish also came with another side, which he had the mac and cheese. Though nothing to write home about, it was a nice alternative with the other choices they had. Now, I ordered the Monte Cristo sandwich. As the server had said, it was actually pretty popular. If you've never had one before, it's essentially a grilled sandwich made with ham, Swiss cheese, and dipped in egg batter and cooked like French toast. The result is a rich combination of savory meats, melted cheese, and slightly sweet bread, as it is often served with powdered sugar or fruit preserves. Now, as a side, my dish came with the hash browns, which were crispy on the outside and soft in the middle. So, despite its somewhat mismatched decor, the restaurant had personality. It was different, memorable, and honestly the kind of place you'd expect would eventually find its footing in the area. So, when we drove by a couple months later and saw that it was gone, replaced by another restaurant, we were shocked. I mean, one minute it was here and the next minute it's gone, replaced by this place called Fat Bear Family Tavern. And honestly, I was disappointed. not because the new restaurant looked bad, but because I thought another promising local business had come and gone before it even had a chance to find its audience. Restaurants in Pigeon Forge face a real tough reality. They're competing not only against each other, but also against the comfort of familiarity. Many visitors choose restaurants they're visited before or brands they recognize because they know exactly what they're getting. And that's one reason national chains continue to do so well in tourist areas. Predictability can be a powerful selling point. So we assumed that the corner diner had simply become another restaurant casualty that couldn't survive the challenge. We decided we'd give this new place a try in the future and tuck the footage away from our original visit for keepsaking. You never know, maybe I'd go back again and compare footage or something. Oh, who knows? Now, that's at least what we thought had happened. So this last spring, we were looking for a new place to try, and I said, hey, let's go try that Fat Bear place or whatever it was called. And my husband agreed, so long as they have cold, crisp fountain soda, he was game. Heading back to the same location, we took a moment to look at the differences. The 1950s mishmash of ideas and theming was completely gone. The new owners leaned heavily into something that felt a little bit more at home in the Smoky Mountains. The theme was clearly black bears, wood tones, stone accents, and that lodge-style atmosphere that immediately feels connected to the eastern Tennessee area. And where once space aliens used to float above an ice cream fountain bar, now actually was a real bar covered with liquor and more liquor, and of course seating for people to sit and hang out at the bar. The old Formica tables and brightly colored chairs had been replaced with dark wood tables and comfortably padded seating, and booths that gave you more of a sense of privacy. And the gorillas? They might be under there somewhere, but either way, they have been long hidden. Now, another change was a mural against the other wall. It used to be a drive-in theater scene, and now it is covered with real TVs. The restaurant had installed 23 televisions, which covered all of the walls. Now, where the old restaurant had a swinging cafe-style 50s vibe, the Fat Bear Family Tavern feels like a designation more for family, sports fans, and visitors looking to settle in for a while. The waiting area had even been converted into additional seating to accommodate more guests. And while I have to admit there was a part of me that missed the quirky 1950s, 60s diner theme, I also have to admit something else. This new concept fits Pigeon Forge much better. It feels like a restaurant that belongs here. Now, of course, the atmosphere will only get you so far. So now we had to ask ourselves, what was the food like? Because, well, that's why we're here, to eat, right? However, I don't know if you've ever noticed when you're sitting at a restaurant and hear this banging noise all the time. Well, that is the DoorDash signal. And it was going off constantly over by the cashier. So I'm going to assume at least people like their food because they were ordering a lot of it online. Now, it wasn't until we were actually sitting at the table that I noticed something very familiar on the table. The magic balls were still there. And that was the first clue. So when I sat down and started looking at the menu, I also noticed a lot of the menu items looked familiar too. And I turned to the waitress and I said, by any chance, is this like the same owners? And she's like, oh yeah, they just redesigned it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, really? That's so cool. Now I'm even more excited. Apparently, less than a few months after our first visit, the owners had rebranded and transformed the corner diner and made it into the Fat Bear Family Tavern. In fact, they even posted this message to customers. Same ownership, same great food, and the same friendly faces you know and love. Wow, I guess it pays to actually pay attention to social media sometimes, right? Anyway, one thing we did notice in their post was that the menu was mostly the same. So we had to start comparing notes and look for differences and similarities. For the most part, there are more similarities than differences. such as the mozzarella sticks and cheese curds. The first time we were there, we tried the mozzarella sticks, and when we came back, we got the cheese curds. The cheese curds were the same with a unique side, a sweet and spicy Thai chili sauce, but even if that sauce doesn't suit you, just ask for ranch or marinara sauce and they'd be happy to help. Either way, the cheese curds were crispy, flavorful, and exactly what I wanted in an appetizer. On our first time around, my husband had the chicken tenders, which are still on the menu today, although I'm not entirely sure if the recipe has changed since our last visit. This time around, he decided to have the grilled cheese sandwich, and I believe that's on the kids' menu. It comes with a side of fries, which were crispy and hot. Now, for the meals, unfortunately, I didn't see the Monte Cristo on the menu this time around. It appears to have become another casualty of the rebranding, living only in the memories of those lucky enough to have ordered it once. Gone are the old days. Either way, this time I ordered the Hamburger Steak Stack. And this is a hamburger steak served on a Texas roll and topped with fries, mozzarella cheese, rich brown gravy. And normally it comes with mushrooms, onions, which yuck, I don't like them. But I ordered mine without them and it was delicious. I loved it. I would definitely get this again. It is not a healthy dish in the least bit. And if you don't like your food touching, this is a nightmare for you. But for me, I loved it. It was perfect. I definitely would try this again. On their menu, they have added a couple things, like one of the items is the meatloaf platter, and they have a couple other specialties that they didn't have before. And it seems though, for the most part, everything is about the same. And they also want to make sure that customers understand that the food is all scratch made and the restaurant still prides themselves on their high quality ingredients. So let's wrap this up. Would we go back? Heck yeah. Not only is the location convenient, it's close to the parkway and right off of Teaster Lane, but parking is easy, and that's hard to find sometimes in the area. And honestly, I really want to try that monkey bread. I almost got it to take back with me, but I'm like, oh, we're going home tomorrow, and I didn't want it to sit in the car for the whole day in the cooler, so I decided not to do that. I will try them next time, though, definitely. Another perk about this place is on the weekends, they are open a little later. In fact, that's the reason we ended up going here, because so many places in the area are closed early in Pigeon Forge. Fat Bear Family Tavern did something unusual. They reinvented themselves. And while I still have a soft spot for the quirky little alien that is no longer there, I have to admit the transformation worked. The food remains solid, the atmosphere feels more connected to the Smoky Mountains, and the restaurant also has found an identity that feels more like it suits the area. I hope this video helps you plan your visit to the Smoky Mountains. You're getting an honest review from our personal experiences, but facts and things change, so please keep us in the loop if you learn anything new and want to share your experience in the comments. Thanks again for visiting us at Bear Facts of the Smoky Mountains. Please click that like button and subscribe to our channel.